Yeah, that the
freezer
progression
clean.
thing is always interesting to me because there's some people you talk to and it's like their mindset never changes around hunting. I don't know if it's a passion thing or what, but there's some people that if it's brown, it's down year after year, no
Yep.
matter what. And then
Yep.
there's some people that, have that what I call like the natural progression where, at first it's just I want to get a deer down. And then I want to get, maybe a buck down. Then I want to shoot a lot of bucks. Then I want to
Yeah.
shoot a big buck. And then
Yeah.
after that, I feel like the bar just keeps raising. And then you have people like Don Higgins that, just if it ain't 200 most of the time, he probably just ain't shooting it, which respect to that, man. We're actually going to have him on later today. But something that I get into is like and I think a lot of people struggle with this too, middle of the summer, into the summer, you're like, all right, 150 or nothing, 160 or nothing. Then all of a sudden, season goes on, you're like, all right, I'll settle for a 145. And then season goes on and drags on, and it's like, at this point, I'm 4 days into my rutcation here on public land, and if a 125 comes out and he's just working it just right, and he just, that the sunrise is just glistening off of his
Yeah.
coat.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm going to absolutely swack that dude. And
Yeah.
it's just like to me anymore, it feels like, yeah, everybody wants a 160, but as kind of what I'm experiencing right now, it's like the story and like the time behind the hunt kind of and the lead up is almost meaning more to me right now than like the big bucks, probably because I can't really kill big bucks consistently. But what's your
Yeah.
view on all that?
So to me too, I don't like to talk about score as much as age, and then a lot of it too is so depends on what you have access to. I would shoot a deer on public hunting, and I have shot deer on public hunting that I wouldn't even pick my binoculars up for if it was on my private land, and be tickled to death with it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would shoot a deer here at home, a 5, 6 year old that I wouldn't even pick my binoculars up for in Kansas. So it's all relative to what's going on and what's available to you. How much vacation time? If I was restricted like I used to be, I remember I used to work at the sawmill. I was a lumber inspector for Dad, and I would just say, Lord, just someday give me November. I would just like to be able to hunt 4 weeks of November. Well, now I get to hunt September, October, November, December, and January if I want to, which is awesome. So a lot of it's got to do with how much time you have. If you've got a guy that gets 2 weeks vacation a year, I don't think you should set a limit on what you're holding out for. You're just looking for the best buck you think you can possibly get in a 2 week period, and if you're hunting on public hunting and a 130 walks up or a 120 or a 100, I'm tickled to death for you to shoot that. I think if that's what you want, and it's a last day of your vacation or whatever, smoke him, enjoy the time. I don't ever want people to think that I look down on anybody because they shoot a lesser deer or whatever. That's not what it's about at all. It's just about enjoying the woods, your time, what you have available. Everybody's different. Everybody has different demands on their life, their time, their financial situation, what they have access to. Everybody's different. So, I'm not going to judge anybody, and I would appreciate it, even though they seem to like to a lot, judge me on what, I'm doing or what they're doing, because we don't know what their situation is or what they're going through. I love it when people like Don Higgins and me and whoever, the Drury's and Lee and Lukowski and those of us who have a lot of time to hunt and have access to really good properties and big deer. That's what we're after. We've gone through the progression of all these other feelings and things that we've experienced. We're old. We're all old for one thing, So that's going to happen, But I also love it. I get pictures all the time of guys, and especially younger guys, who kill smaller bucks, and they're proud of them, and they should be. I always comment or press like or whatever because I'm happy for them. And they're going to progress. I've seen so many kids, progress up from the time they were 10, including my own son, to when they get in their 30s and 40s. They're all on a progression scale. Also, some people progress faster than others because if your father is Don Higgins or Mark and Terry Drury or Lee Lakowski or or one of those guys, then your progression is going to be different. I got my Yeti buddy out in Texas, Ryan Snyder's son. He's having a hard time holding his son. Ryan's killing 200s every year, and he's having a hard time. His son wants to shoot a big one. He's having to hold him down. He don't want to overdo it too fast, because he's going to burn himself out on big bucks in his 20s if he lets him shoot too much now. And he knows that. That's why he's holding him back. So, yeah, the main thing I want everybody to do is enjoy their time in the outdoors and hunting. You're going to get out of it what you're able to put into it. Some people are just able to put a lot more into it than others. And I've just been blessed enough to progress in, a lot of different areas outside of hunting and be able to spend more time and resources towards, finding really big deer. And so it's just, it's been awesome. I've never dreamed in a million years that what I'm surrounded by right now would ever happen to this extent.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see it from, not to make anybody an idol, because nobody's an idol except for obviously the Lord. But
Right, right.
I think people assume that like other people's standards have to be their own, right? Like, oh, this person wouldn't appreciate what I shot, even though I got 3 kids and I
Yeah.
get to hunt 4 days a year. And it's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there are a lot of people that put their standards on other people, but I think too, it's so, especially in a social media driven world, you see just a snapshot of someone's life. I see Spook. Oh, he just slammed another 170. Must be nice, but you don't see the progression of I'm working at the lumber mill. I'm doing the real estate stuff on the side. I'm building myself up to outdoor television. It's like you do all the things you have to do until you can
Right.
do what you want to do. And
Exactly.
people don't realize like how long that takes and how that progression actually looks like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long progression, but I'm telling you, man, enjoy every minute of it because life flies by so fast, And when we're dead and gone, none of this is going to matter. Really, what's going to matter is, is what kind of friend were you? What kind of father, husband, and most of all, what kind of Christian you are and were. And so keep life in perspective because I myself, admittingly, you can get caught up in it and allow it to kind of overtake you if you're not careful and to where that's all that you're thinking about and you got to be careful not to let that happen. We love it so much that it can get out of hand, and I know that very well. But what's more important is can we be a good example and help people through the course. And I feel like, if anything, the show and the success and hunting big deer has basically been what the Lord has given me as a platform to hopefully set a good example and lead more people to Christ. Then, and this is just the platform He chose to give me to try to get that done. And so, I that's the way I try to approach it now. And when I got to the point in my life, that's all a progression. Also, that didn't happen overnight. That's just something you grow into. And when I got to a point where I wasn't worried about eating a tag anymore or coming home empty-handed, where this is what I'm after, and if I don't kill one, I just don't kill one. And when I got to that point where I was okay with that, I started doing so much better. I started having more fun. I started killing bigger animals, and I stopped stressing so much, and I just let I said, I'm not going to let my physical ability or my equipment stand in the way of my success. But if Mother Nature gets in the way, there's nothing I can do about it, and that's just life. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now.